Good morning, Year 3. We're still in lockdown, and while we're not at school, I'm going to be reading to you this week a story by Neil Gaiman called Unfortunately, the Milk. Let me read to you the blurb. Mum's away. Dad's in charge. There's no milk. So Dad saves the day by going to buy some. Really, that's all that happens. Very boring. Yawn. There are absolutely none of the following things inside: globby green aliens, intergalactic police, pirates, and most definitely not a time-travelling hot air balloon piloted by the brilliant Professor Steg. There was only orange juice in the fridge. Nothing else that you could put on cereal, unless you think that ketchup or mayonnaise or pickle juice would be nice on your Tostios, which I do not. And neither does my little sister, although she has eaten some pretty weird things in her day, like mushrooms in chocolate. She did not actually like eating them, and I had not actually told her that there were mushrooms inside the chocolate. It was an experiment. No milk, said my sister. Nope, I said, looking behind the jam in the fridge, just in case. None at all. Our mum had gone off to a conference. She was presenting a paper on lizards. Before she went, she reminded us of the important things that had to happen while she was away. My dad was reading behind the paper. I do not think he pays a lot of attention to the world while he is reading the paper. Did you hear me? Asked my mum, who is suspicious. What did I say? Don't forget to take the kids to orchestra practice tomorrow. It's violin on Wednesday night. You've a frozen dinner for each night you're away and labelled them. The spare house key is with the Nicholsons. The plumber will be here on Monday morning, and do not use or flush the upstairs toilet until he's been. Feed the goldfish. You love us, and you'll be back on Thursday, said my father. I think Mum was surprised. Yes, that's right, she said. She kissed us all. Then she said, oh, and we're almost out of milk. You'll need to pick some up. After she went away, my dad had a cup of tea. There was still some milk left. We defrosted meal number 1, but we made a bit of a mess of things, so we went to the Indian restaurant. Before we went to sleep, Dad made us mugs of hot chocolate to make up for the whole missing of Mum. That was last night. Now Dad came into the kitchen. Eat your cereal, he said. Remember, it's orchestra practice this afternoon. We can't eat our cereal, said my sister sadly. I don't see why not, said my father. We've got plenty of cereal. There's Tostios and there's muesli. We have bowls, we have spoons. Spoons are excellent, sort of like forks, only not as stabby. No milk? I said. No milk, said my sister. I watched my dad think about this. He looked like he was going to suggest that we have something for breakfast you do not need milk for, like sausages. But then he looked like he remembered that without milk, he couldn't have his tea. He had his no tea face on. You poor children, he said. I will walk down to the shop on the corner. I will get milk. Thank you, said my sister. Not skimmed, I told him. That stuff tastes like water. Right, my dad said. Not skimmed. He went out. I poured some Tostios into a bowl. I stared at them. I waited. How long has he been? Asked my sister. Ages, I said. I thought so, said my little sister. We drank orange juice. My sister practiced her violin. I suggested that she stop playing her violin, and she did. My sister made faces at me. How long has it been now? She asked. Ages and ages, I told her. What happens if he never comes back? She asked. I suppose we eat the pickles, I said. You can't eat pickles for breakfast, said my sister. and I don't like pickles at any time. What if something awful has happened to him? Mum would blame us. I expect he's just ran into one of his friends at the corner shop, I said, and they got talking and he lost track of time. I ate a dry Toastio as an experiment. It was sort of okay, but not as good as in milk. There was a thump and a bang at the front door, and my father came in. "Where have you been all this time?" asked my sister. "Ah," said my father, yes, well, funny you should ask me that. You ran into someone you knew, I said, and you lost track of time." "I bought the milk," said my father, and I did indeed say a brief hello to Mr. Ronson from over the road, who was buying a paper. I walked out of the corner shop and heard something odd that seemed to be coming from above me. It was a noise like this: thum, thum. I looked up and saw a huge silver disc hovering in the air above Marshall Road. "Hello," I said to myself. "That's not something you see every day." And then something odd happened. "That wasn't odd?" I asked. "Well, something odder," said my dad. The odd thing was the beam of light that came out of the disc, a glittery, shimmery beam of light that was visible even in the daylight, and the next thing I knew, I was being sucked up into the disc. Fortunately, I'd put the milk into my coat pocket. The deck of the disc was metal. It was as big as a playing field, or bigger. "We have come to your planet from a world far away," said the people in the disc. I called them people, but they were a bit green and rather globby, and they looked rather grumpy indeed. "Now, as a representative of your species, we demand that you give us ownership of your whole planet. We are going to remodel it." "I jolly well won't," I said. "Then," one of them said, "we will bring all your enemies here and get them to make you miserable until you agree to sign the planet over to us." I was going to point out to them that I didn't have any enemies when I noticed a large metal door with "Emergency exit. Do not open for any reason. This means you" on it. I opened the door. "Don't do that," said a green globbly person. "You let the space-time continuum in." It was too late. I'd already pushed the door open. I jumped. I was falling. Fortunately, I had kept tight hold of the milk, so when I splashed into the sea, I didn't lose it. "What was that?" said a woman's voice. "A big fish? A mermaid? Or was it a spy?" I wanted to say that I wasn't any of those things, but my mouth was full of seawater. I felt myself being hauled up onto the deck of a little ship. There were a number of men and a woman on the deck, and they all looked very cross. "Who be ye, landlubber?" asked the woman, who had a big hat on her head and a parrot on her shoulder. "He's a spy, a walrus in a coat, a new kind of mermaid with legs," said the men. "What are you doing here?" asked the woman. "Well," I said, "I'd just been to the corner shop for some milk for my children's breakfast and for my tea, and the next thing I knew—" "He's lying, your majesty." She pulled out her cutlass. "You dare lie to the Queen of the Pirates?" Fortunately, I had kept tight hold of the milk, and now I pointed to it. If I did not go to the corner shop to fetch the milk, I asked them, then where did this come from? At this, the pirates were completely speechless. "Now," I said, "if you could let me off somewhere near to my destination, I would be much obliged to you." "And where would that happen to be?" said the Queen of the Pirates. "Oh, at the corner of Marshall Road and Fletcher Lane," I said. "My children are waiting there for their breakfast." "You're on a pirate ship now, my fine bucko," said the Pirate Queen, "and you don't get dropped off anywhere. There are only two choices. You can join my pirate crew, or refuse to join and we will slit your cowardly throat and throw you to the bottom of the sea, where you will feed the fishes." What about walking the plank?" I asked. "Never heard of it," said the pirates. "Walking the plank," I said. "It's what proper pirates do. Look, I'll show you. Do you have a plank anywhere?" It took some looking, but we found a plank, and I showed the parents where to put it. We discussed nailing it down, but the pirate queen decided it was safer just to get the two fattest pirates to sit on the end of it. "Why exactly do you want to walk the plank?" asked the pirate queen. I edged out onto the plank. The blue Caribbean water splashed gently beneath me. "Well," I said, "I've seen lots of stories with pirates in them, and it seems to me that if I'm going to be rescued—" At this, the pirates started to laugh so hard their stomachs wobbled, and the parrot took off into the air in amazement. "Rescue?" they said. "There's no rescue out here. We're in the middle of the sea." "Nevertheless," I told them, "if you are going to be rescued, it will always be while walking the plank." "Which we don't do," said the pirate queen. "Here, have a Spanish doubloon, and come and join us in our piratical adventures. It's the 18th century, she added. And there's always room for a bright, enthusiastic pirate." I caught the doubloon. "I almost wish that I could," I told her. "But I have children, and they need their breakfast." "Then you must die. Walk the plank." I edged out to the end of the plank. Sharks were circling. So were piranhas. And this is where I interrupted my dad for the first time. "Hang on," I said. "Piranhas are freshwater fish. What they're doing in the sea?" "Oh, you're right," said my father. "The piranhas were later. Right, so I was out on the end of the plank, facing certain death, when..." Well, you'll have to come back tomorrow and find out what happens next.